What is going on, YouTube? Welcome to the Living Freed channel. My name is Tyler Freed, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about why there is no excuse for you to not have a multi-million-dollar net worth. If you are somebody that is under the age of 40 and you're watching this video and you're looking at trucking as a long-term career, or you're in trucking and you're under the age of 40, there's no excuse for you to not retire a multimillionaire. 100%, there's no excuse. And I'm going to talk about why that is, and I'm going to talk about how you can get to that point. Now, even if you're over the age of 40, even if you're 50, if you do what I talk about in this video, chances are you probably will still have a multi-six-figure net worth, or maybe even crack over $1 million. And say you're 50 years old and you do this for about 10 to 15 years, 100%, you probably will be close to a millionaire. But especially if you're 40 and under and you're watching this and you do not retire a multimillionaire from trucking, you are doing something wrong. There's something wrong with your plan. There's something wrong with your discipline. And so I'm going to get into that. So if you're new, I appreciate y'all for being here. Stay tuned till the very end to hear the entire point I'm going to be making. Like the video, sub to the channel, and or dislike it if you don't like me and you don't like the video. Either way, though, please help the channel grow by engaging with the YouTube algorithm. I would really appreciate that. So, number one, what is the number one mistake people make when they get into trucking? Well, they just sign up, they go to school, and they just get their license and drive. Well, that's what you're supposed to do. Well, yeah, it is what you're supposed to do, but you skipped the first step. The first step is you need to know what you want to do with trucking. That is the biggest mistake I see people make. They go into trucking just looking for a better paycheck. Okay, I'm going to go get my license. I'm making 40 grand a year, working this warehouse job or working this job or whatever, and I'm just going to go get a CDL so I can make 70. And there's no real long-term plan with trucking. There's no plan to go from 60 to 70 your first year to 6 figures or more. And that's the mistake people make, is they don't have a clear-cut plan for their career. And it's like most careers, that is what you're supposed to do. If you're somebody looking at becoming a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer or working in finance or whatever, most other careers, they have a plan for, okay, I'm going to go to school, I'm going to get any licensing I need, then when I get in, I'm going to, get my experience, and then I'm going to start moving my way up and figuring out how to move up within that career field. Truck drivers don't do that. They just get in, they get their license, and they just drive, and they don't think that there's anything more than that starter company or, that thing they started with. And that's because you got to do your research, and why am I touching on this first? Because, if you're not making good money, it's going to be hard for you to do the things that I talk about towards the end. But you want to first invest in yourself. That's the best investment you can make. That's a better investment than stocks or real estate or, crypto or anything, is invest in you. Invest in learning skills, and so the first thing you want to do is, again, figure out what it is that you want to do. You need to do your research. You need to figure out where is the money in trucking. And the money in trucking, I'll just be very simple with it, is figure out what other drivers don't want to do and do that. That's where the money is in trucking. Most drivers do not want to be over the road. They want to get 1 year of experience and then go home and get a local or regional job. Nothing wrong with that, but if you're trying to really be successful financially, you got to do things other people don't want to do in any career, especially in trucking. So that's what they do. They get that year and they don't know, like, hey man, if you got a year or 2 or 3 of experience, you could go get that really high paying over the road job, but you don't want to be over the road. So you quit. Or, most drivers don't want to, take the time to get their endorsements, their hazmat, their doubles, their triples, that they don't want to do that. Their tanker, or they don't want to learn a skill like car hauling or flatbed or oversized load or oil field, whatever. they're not willing to specialize because that would require more effort. It's more than just holding a steering wheel and driving, right? And look, I'm in the dry van. I'm in dry van. That's what I've been doing. I've done dry van and reefer my entire trucking career. But before I got into trucking, I knew that I wanted to be an owner operator. I did have a plan to be an owner operator. I also did have a plan to get into trucking, get my experience, and go to a company where they pay a lot higher rate because I have that experience. That's another thing, like I just said. So I did something that a lot of people don't want to do. I've stayed OTR for about 7 years. And because if I were to go local or if I were to go regional, the pay gets cut. That's just the way it is, at least for general freight. Now, if you want to be home, every weekend or whatever and still make really good money, like I said, you want to specialize, you want to get your endorsements. That's how you're really going to be able to do that. But you just got to figure that out. Like, long story short, you got to figure that out first. If you want to make 6 figures or more, it's here in trucking. It's really not like that hard to do. You just have to do a little bit more work than the rest of the people. 90% of drivers out there. You just got to, do your research and do a little bit more work to get to that money. So like I said, doing OTR, getting your endorsement. Another thing is training. If you're at your starter company and they're saying, hey, after you hit a year of experience, you can start training, because you not only get paid for the miles that you drive, you get paid for the miles that the student drives. And so that'll increase your pay. Oh, but I don't want to deal with, the student. I don't want to deal with people in my truck. And again, things that most drivers don't want to do, where they could be making way more money. They choose not to do it. And then they say there's no money in trucking. You got to think about that. The people telling you there's no money in trucking are not willing to do what I'm talking about. So that's the first thing. Step 1, before you get into trucking, ideally, know exactly what niche you want to do. Do you want to work dry van, reefer, flatbed, tanker, oversized load, oil field, car hauling? Do you want to become a trainer? What do you want to do? Do you want to be an owner operator? You got to have a savings plan for that. Figure out what it is you want to do before you get in. And if you're already in watching this video, figure out what you want to do long term. The next thing, okay, now that we've figured out what we want to do in trucking, now we got to figure out what we want to do with the money we're making. Okay, so you're making really good money. You've got your experience. You're working in the niche you want to be in. Okay, what do you want to do? Do you want to go the business route? You got to make that decision. If you want to go the business route, do you want to own a truck and just be a solo owner operator and that's it? You don't want to scale past that? Or do you want to grow a fleet? You have to know that. If you're going to go into the business side of trucking, you need to know before you buy your first truck whether you just want to buy that one truck and just do that, or go and grow a fleet. Because once you go from 1 truck to 2, it's a whole different ball game, and now you're in the fleet game. And a lot of guys, all they want to do is just save up, buy a truck, and just drive their solo truck. They don't want to deal with other drivers and things like that. You just need to figure that out. Again, you got to have a plan, because again, having a fleet and being an owner operator, 2 totally different things. And you need to know what you want to do with that if you're going to go the business route. Can you become a millionaire by growing a fleet? Absolutely. You could also become a millionaire by owning 1 truck and doing what I'm going to talk about at the end. That's why I say stay tuned till the end. But, the thing is, guys, is when you have a plan, when you lay it out, and you want to lay it out on paper or on your computer or whatever, just lay it out so you can look at it, so that it's there in front of you and you can remind yourself of what you're trying to do. When you have that, again, it's like a roadmap. It's like having a GPS. You got to have a navigation system. You got to have a map to get to where you're trying to go. I know this is common sense stuff, but people don't do it. That's like most of society, not just truck drivers. Most of society doesn't do that. And then they wonder why they're not getting ahead financially in their careers when they should. They should. Even just driving, general freight, like dry van. Dude, you can make 100,000 plus a year. You get enough experience, you can do that. There's companies that pay you a high enough rate to go out there, and as long as you run hard, you do 2,800 miles a week, 3,000 miles a week, you can make 6 figures a year. Oh no, that can't be done. Yeah, it can. If you learn to manage your time right, and you're just disciplined, and you stay out and you run hard, you can do it 100%. You don't even have to specialize. But like I said, most people aren't willing to do those things. And it's the same thing with like a business. If you're going to be an owner operator, again, you have to have a plan. What's my goal with this? Am I just going to buy a truck and wing it? And that's not going to work. You need to know, okay, this money I'm making as an owner op, what am I going to do with that? Am I going to buy another truck? Am I going to grow? You get the point. You get the point. Okay, let's say you figured that out. You figured all that out, the career side of trucking. Now you need to fix your personal finances, because the whole point of driving a truck is to get in and benefit yourself and your family financially. So that first part of this video, that's like the most important thing, again, because if you're not making good money, you're not going to be able to do this last part. And what is the last part? I always say, you get out of debt. Use your job to get out of debt. And I would recommend you get out of personal debt. If you have personal debt, consumer debt, I would say excluding a mortgage. If you have that, do not save up and be an owner operator. Get completely out of personal debt first, then save up to be an owner operator if that's your goal. You need to be debt free as a person. Not just as an owner operator, but as a person, individually. I would recommend that. You need to get debt free, 100% debt free. Why? Because you're making really good money. And if you do what I said, you're going to make really good money. And if you get out of debt, that is going to free up more of your income to be able to save and invest, save to become an owner op or start a fleet, whatever you want to do. It's going to free up cash flow, and you're going to be able to do a lot more with your finances if you don't have a lot of payments. It's very simple. Income minus expenses equals, profit, or equals free cash flow for you to build wealth with. It's very simple. So get out of debt and stay out of debt. After you do that, you need reserves. You need reserves for emergencies. Life happens. You need to at least have 6 months worth of living expenses saved up in a high yield savings account or a money market, whatever, but liquid money. Say you just got to figure out what is your monthly costs to live. Bare necessities. If you lost your job, how much money would you need to have to pay your bills for 1 month? Multiply that by 6. That's how much money you need saved up. I would recommend doing that before you save for a truck. If you want to be an owner operator, guess what? You need to be debt free and have an emergency fund. And then above that emergency fund, that can be saved towards being an owner op. Why? Why do I say that? And you need that whether you're an owner op or not. But why do I say that? Well, if you buy a truck, or you start investing in stocks instead of buying a truck or real estate or whatever, whenever things get tight in your life, you have that money to cover unforeseen expenses. Instead of cashing out your investments or having to pull money from your business that you're running to cover those personal bills, you have that money already. And it prevents you from going back into debt once you get out of debt as well, when you have that emergency fund. Above that 6-month emergency fund, though, you want to stop saving money because you want to start getting your money into assets, whether that be a business, whether that be real estate, whether that be stocks. I do recommend for truck drivers because this is what I did. So I pretty much just talk about what I do, and I think it's a great way to do it. But I always recommend low cost index funds. Once you're out of debt, and if you don't have enough money to start a business, well, start investing. You need to start investing once you have that emergency fund. And I would recommend a low cost index fund or a couple low cost index funds. A great book is The Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins. If you want to learn more about index fund investing and the plan that I followed, that book will lay that out. But what I did was, when I was out of debt and had an emergency fund, I put 50 to 60% of my income into a low-cost, globally diversified index. I invested in VTWAX. That is the Vanguard Total World Stock Market Index. It's the mutual fund version. VT is the ETF version. They're both the same investment. One's just an ETF and one is a mutual fund. Either way, if you buy either one, you're investing in the same index. You're investing in the same investment. But that's what I did. I pretty much bought VT or VTWAX, and that's what I did for 6 years, and invested 50 to 60% of my income consistently. And it got me to the point where I was able to start a business and, have a decent sized business after 6-7 years. And that can be you, or you can just leave it in the market and continuously invest and become a millionaire that way and not even own a truck. Look, you just need to know what you want to do. But the point is once you are, rocking and rolling in your career, and you've gotten out of debt, you have an emergency fund, and you're investing, you don't want to invest in index funds, well then, okay, real estate, start saving up for a down payment to buy a rental property. Oh, you want to become an owner operator. Okay, start saving up money to buy your first truck. Look, your life is going to be so much better if you do what I'm talking about. Is it easy to do it? Is it easy to stick with this plan? No, it's going to be a process. It's a process getting out of debt. That might take you a couple years. It's a process saving up 6 months worth of, a 6-month emergency fund. It's a process to learn how to invest your money wisely and build a big portfolio. It is. But let's say it takes you 2 years to get out of debt and then a year to build that emergency fund. Man, after 3 years, you're set up to start really building wealth because, man, you're making great money. You have hardly any payments, very low expenses, and you can just sock money away. And once you're out of debt and have an emergency fund, man, you can become a multimillionaire, like I said at the beginning, just by buying a low-cost index fund, a total U.S. market fund or a total world market fund. You buy that consistently over a 10, 15-year span, you will become a millionaire. You will, and there's no excuse. You're making 80, 90, 100 plus thousand a year as a truck driver, and you're out of debt, and you have that cushion. There's no excuse why you can't max out a 401k and a Roth IRA or invest in a brokerage account and save, 25, 30, 40% of your income, 50% of your income. There's no excuse. Y'all make enough money. The people watching this that are going to doubt what I'm saying, you make enough money, but you decide to waste your money on things that are useless. You start making a little bit of money. Oh, I want to go buy that fancy car. Oh, I want to put, a vacation on a credit card. I want to go, blow my money on a boat or blow my money on this thing or that thing, useless stuff, buying liabilities versus buying assets. And that's what you got to change. You got to change your mindset about money. You want to use your money to buy freedom. You don't want to use your money to buy junk that just goes down in value. It's that simple. And that's why a lot of guys struggle, man. And a lot of people, they struggle because they skip the steps. They won't get out of debt first. They'll just save up, put money down on a truck, and I'm just going to go for it. Well, yeah, but you're going to fail because whenever your truck is broken down and in the shop for 2 weeks and you have to come out of pocket to cover expenses and you got truck notes, that's how you go in the hole. That's why I talk about what I talk about on my channel. It's very simple stuff, but it's like, look, man, don't be that person that comes in with no plan and you just wing it. You just try to trial and error. Trial and error is great, but learn from other people's mistakes. Learn from people who are successful. Don't listen to people in this industry who are struggling financially, or any industry. You don't take money advice from broke people. You take money advice from people who are actually having success. That's what you do, okay? And I'm not saying I'm the most successful person in the world. I'm not. I'm doing what I learned from other successful people. I didn't listen to truck drivers when it came to saving and investing and building a business. I don't listen to truck drivers about that. I listen to business people. I read books from people who have built companies, sold companies, invested in stocks, invested in real estate. I listen to people who are in the money game about money. And I'm in the money game now. I'm in it. Yes, I'm a trucker still, but I'm also a business owner. And I'm also an investor in the stock market. I'm more than just a trucker. And I'm actually going to end with this. Become more than just a trucker if you're watching this video. Use that time you're driving this truck for 10 hours a day. Use that time to learn. Learn about money. Learn about business. Learn about assets and different asset classes. Learn. Don't waste your time. And again, be disciplined with your money so that you do not work and drive for 10, 15, 20, 30 years and end up with absolutely nothing. Please don't let that be you. If you watch this video till the end, 90% of the people you meet in this industry are going to tell you how bad trucking is, how there's no money in trucking, the industry's rigged, there's this problem, that problem. You're going to hear that all the time. And just remember, if you're watching this video, that what I'm talking about right now is what the top 10% of people do in society. If you want to be like the bottom 90%, have fun. But I don't want to be that. And this channel is not for people who want to be part of the 90%. That's my video for today. God bless. Thank you for watching, and peace out.